So you'll help me do this, please. Okay, I'd like to call the agenda meeting of the Cape Coral Charter School Board Governing Board, Tuesday, October 13th, 2015. Council Chambers, it is 9:02. Our invocation, if you'll rise, please. I think our invocation today will deal with the shootings, the flooding in South Carolina, the displacement of all the children around the world, and of course, our breast cancer people. And I think that's enough on our plate, so if we'll just have a moment of silence. Thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Roll call, please.
Anderson. Boyer. Here. Donaldson.
Present.
Jackson is excused. Lucas Ross. Nesta.
Here.
Tablum. Zivkovic.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes, September 8th, 2015, regular meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approval of the minutes has passed. Approval of the agenda, regular meeting. Any changes? Okay, motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Superintendent report.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I wanted to, I've got a long list of things today, so I'll talk slowly and I'll try to get through. Don't worry, I'm not going to read this document in its entirety, but I will be showing you in a second. So I did want to start first talking about our last meeting where we had our strategic planning session, and I wanted to follow up so that we make sure that everybody knows where we are. One of the things that I want to do is make sure to thank those that were participating in the process. I think we left that day with a clear goal and guideline of where we need to be. Our top priorities are the expansion of Christa McAuliffe Elementary, technology upgrade. We've agreed to cap the growth of our system. We looked at salaries, teacher retention, recruitment, professional development opportunities, and a wide range of opportunities to be addressed. So what we're working on now and what I will have for you in your hands before or by November 12th is our active strategic plan. It will include goals and timelines. We've been holding meetings, for instance, with stakeholders for our internal software update, and part of the reason that there's a little delay is I was hoping to be able to give you some sort of timeline with the technology, but we've been working to get quotes, and it's been a little bit harder than we thought that it might be. I also want to thank one of our students, Yamina, who has been working. This is just the cover, so to give you an idea, I mean, pretty doesn't really necessarily matter, but we will have a nice living working document that will be in your hands again by November 12th. Or again before, and what I would do then, what I'm asking is that you'll get it by the next meeting, and then we will approve or have questions for that month, and then by December 8th is when I'll come back to actually have you officially approve it. So that'll give you a month to review the strategic planning session. And again, it is so far, and I'll send a sample just so you can see, but it literally says, this is the goal, this is what we're doing, this is who's responsible, this is how we're following up, and this is the timeline. So that'll also help you hold me accountable down the road, so it's long-term, it's not just short-term goals there. The Neola update, one of the things that we have done is we've received our first draft. It has been reviewed. We had to go through every page. I wanted to give you an example. This is half, so that you get a sense, but we're very proud that we've cut it down. But this is half of the document. On November 9th, I'm meeting with our consultant, Tom Young from Neola. It will be our last meeting. He's giving me the final updates. There's been some other updates legislatively since then. You will also, by December 8th, have in your hand a hard copy of these big documents. So you will be getting, literally, here you go. We are not going to have a vote on December 8th, but what we will do And what I'm asking for your approval on is that you'll have the month between December 8th and January 12th, and then on January 12th, we could hold a workshop right after our meeting, if that would so be approved by you all. And then that will give you 30 days from this December 8th until January 12th, 30 days to ask any questions you might have. In addition, on January 12th, during the workshop, Tom Young, our Neola consultant, will be here. So he's an attorney as well, so that will also have opportunities for us. At that workshop, we're not going to really vote or take any action other than any adjustments or things that you may have to do. And then February 9th, I'll be bringing it back for an actual vote for you all. So that is basically a 60-day window in which to work through, and I think, although it's a big document, I think that that'll give ample time. If we find it doesn't, we can extend the actual vote date, but I think a workshop will be a good way for you to kind of go into the meat and potatoes and ask questions and have us make adjustments. So that's the timeline for that. I just wanted you to know it has not been forgotten, and unfortunately, as you see, as big as this is, I had to go through every page and with a lot of help from a lot of people to make sure that what we had asked for is in the document. And even then, we still have some changes that we want to make before that. So the Florida Charter School Conference is coming up November 10th through 12th in Orlando. I will be attending. I'm looking forward to getting best practice from other groups that are there. Advanced Ed, part of the reason why the Neola policies are important to update is that's part of the Advanced Ed requirements. So on my end, I've been asked by the Advanced Ed team to do 2 team site reviews. So I'll be doing that at 2 different high schools. I can't say which one publicly, but there are 2 different high schools I'll be going, which will give me a great opportunity to get the best and best practice of what they're doing and what they're actually looking for as a reviewer. So I'll be able to come back with that. But our Neola policies, then, if we do adopt them by February, then they'll be in place for our Advanced Ed thing, and this has been a long time coming, so I'm excited. Our website updates, I've heard from stakeholders about our websites, and although we have people that have worked very hard on them, and I don't want to come across that they're not good already, what we want to do is make them even better. So I have a teacher that's currently working on updating all of our websites. Nothing's going to go live yet. I'll let you know beforehand. I've sent a sample out for you to see, but it basically still allows the schools to do what they want within the framework, but all the frameworks will be the same. So in other words, you go to one site, you'll kind of know where the calendar is located on that site, and then you go to another school site, the calendar will be in the same spot. What's updated there, what they have as information, will be up to the schools to do. So that's being worked on. Even our charter school one will probably be one of the first we roll out. So I just wanted you to know that's happening. We'll have things like Twitter feeds and our YouTube and Facebook accounts, things like that will be right there. So it'll be quick updates, and it'll be a lot easier to ask people to do that. So I'm excited for that. Classroom visits, one of the things that is going to be on my agenda now that we've gone through this and now we're settled in the school year in the next coming weeks. My intent is to get through, and I want to go ahead and warn all the teachers, I'll be coming to every classroom. So over the next weeks, I don't want to give a timeline, but as soon as I can, I'll be heading into every classroom just to see everything that's going on across all of our campuses. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'll be able to share with you what I see. And then our budget. Although we know about our PICO funds, we've been trying to mitigate as much as possible the losses from that. And as a result, one of the things that I've done is I've not re-signed with our lobbying firm. They've done a great job. There's no question about their workability. However, we were able to piggyback with the city lobbyist and able to save approximately $25,000. So we are doing that. We're able to reduce our insurance costs as well, and I'll let Marianne talk about that. I don't want to steal her thunder, but it's a good thing. And then more importantly, and to me, the best news is that due to the initiative of Councilman Nesta and parents, staff, and stakeholders of City Council, the City Council and Mayor have approved a one-time allocation of $100,000 to help us with capital expenses. This is a first in our 10-year history that I'm so excited about. But more importantly, we've received an agreement from the city that they're going to work on renegotiating our lease. So that long-term, since it is the building facilities are owned by the city, and I want the community to be aware that we do not own our building. We are, in fact, renters in the building, that this will be a great opportunity for us to pass back some of the costs that would be in normal business operations, such as painting the buildings, roof maintenance, AC maintenance, things like that. So we do want to thank the city council, the mayor, and especially Councilman Nesta for getting there, because without his support, we wouldn't have been there. And again, I want to thank personally all those that sent letters. We had a lot of letters that were sent to city council, and that absolutely made a difference. And even the parents that showed up and students and staff members and governing board member that showed up for that night. So I couldn't be more proud of the work that was done there. And continuing on this theme, I'd like to take a moment to speak about Councilman Nesta. I know, here he goes, give me the face. Your dedication and focus on making our system better has been evident from the first day on the job for me. With today being your last governing board meeting, I wanted to make sure that you know how much your work has been appreciated. Your legacy you established here with us will have an ongoing positive impact that will be felt for years to come. On behalf of the students, staff, and numerous stakeholders of the City of Cape Coral Municipal Charter School System, I would like to present you with a plaque to signify appreciation for all that you've done. And I'd like to ask for you and Ms. Donaldson to come down to the floor, please. And thank you so much, Councilman. Again, thank you so much. And at this time, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Okay, we have a question. Daryl?
Hello. My question was about the conference, the charter school conference. As you know, I was following the information. I emailed you on it. Does the system at least pay for expenses for that conference?
Yes.
Okay.
It pays for
And-
registration and hotel and travel, yeah. food.
My other question was, due to all the different meetings that are going on there, have you considered taking one of the administrators with you, just so at least, she can't be in two places at one time? I've been to a few large conferences like that, and at least you might be able to accomplish more things.
I appreciate that, and you know, it was nice enough to have a couple of our governing board members volunteer to go. So I have Ms. Boyer and Ms. Donaldson that are going to be willing to go up for us. So they will be filling in any of those gaps so that our staff members can stay. I would love to bring them as well too, but there's so much going on at the school. So they did volunteer to go. So that has
Excellent.
to
I
be.
just wanted to make sure. I've been to a few conferences and trying to split it off and waiting for other people to get the info. It's tough.
So, yeah, so we're
And
looking
if you
forward
get
to it.
stuck and you need extra, let me know. It's only 3 hours.
Okay, thank you.
Rob?
Good morning. Just to request an email form of that document as opposed to printing it out, hopefully, the Neola.
Yes, you can have absolutely options. There will be a website that you can go on to do that as well. So what I'll do before we print these is I'll ask, some people like it paper, some don't. So they will provide us with what we need. But yes, sir.
All right, thank you. In terms of renegotiating the lease with the city, is it going to be an actual negotiation? Is it going to be they just change things and let us know? Who's going to be involved if it is a negotiation?
It actually, my understanding is it ends June 30th, so we'll be starting the process probably February or March. So we'll be getting with the city people to see who's going to be involved in that. But yes, absolutely, I would request that some people will be there with me, governing board member or two, and whoever else would like to go, and Mr. Buzztree perhaps, you know, depending on who's fitting in that. But it will be a real negotiation in context of, with what I saw from the council, with the support, again, it was an 8-0 vote. My indication is it's more a matter of what's reasonable and working within the confines of what they have. So I hate to really call it even a negotiation. It's just they're going to revisit the lease to look at what we are. But I think certainly what I'll do is we'll get the lease to you all. Everybody can look and we'll get ideas on what we can be asking for before we go. It won't be done in isolation. So
If it is a voluntary renegotiation, at least, do we have to wait to June 30th?
Good question.
that's a great question.
Because we're both signing parties, they are and we are, so if we agree to end
That's-
this lease, we can do that at any time under mutual agreement.
I can certainly look into seeing if that can be done expedited, absolutely.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. The chairman report, I have regrets from Amy that she is very ill this morning, which is why I'm sitting in her seat. And she did want to thank Councilman Nesta for his time and service and all you've done for the school system. We appreciate that. And with me getting back from 5 weeks on a holiday, I'm just trying to play catch up. Okay, foundation report?
Ms. Porter also let me know this morning that she would be unable to attend at this time, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything you know of from the foundation?
Nothing at this point that I need to share.
Okay, thank you. Okay, public comment? No public comment? Moving right along, staff and board, business manager, director, I'm sorry, Mary Ann.
Good morning, Mary Ann Monas, Business Manager. Just wanted to recap on the insurance. The city had actually gone out, their insurance was coming due. So what they've decided to do is include us in their new bid to go out to get some new pricing. With that, they have partnered, as well as the City of Cape Coral Charter Schools have partnered with the Florida League of Cities. We actually have two policies that we pay for, or two different sections. The first section that the school pays for is our workers' comp, our building contents, our student accident, things like that. And then in regards to that, that's what we were quoted on our new policy. The savings associated with just that policy alone, we're estimating about $60,000. What will happen, though, is that because we're piggybacking on the city, that policy, instead of going into effect July 1st when we start our fiscal year, it will go into effect October 1st. So we're going to we remained with our old carrier for July, August, and September, and then October 1st we went with the new carrier. But overall, it'll even out in the long run. But there is an estimated savings of $60,000. In addition to our insurance, we actually, as part of our lease, we pay back or reimburse the city for our building insurance, seeing that they own the buildings. As part of our lease, we're obligated to reimburse the city for those costs. As part of that new quote, they've gone out, and there is some savings associated with that as well. But unfortunately, I don't know what that piece of the puzzle is right now, because when they went out to bid, they bid all of their buildings as a whole. So that will be broken down, and then I'll get the new pricing on that for us. So there was some substantial savings with that. I would like to say thank you very much to Mark Sawiski in risk management, as well as Shauna Howard in procurement. I think I've asked so many questions in regards to the policies and our coverage to make sure that we didn't miss anything, and they've been so helpful, so thank you. I would also like to give you an update, as I know, in regards to the accountant position. John Lawrence has officially departed on September 30th. Upon his departure, just before he left us, the city assigned one of their accountants to work with John to learn what exactly he was doing, his financial reports, how he was reporting. Her name is Vicki Blackburn, and Vicki is working currently at the schools 3 days a week. The intention is, we had interviews in July and August. They have a candidate. The intention is to hire an outside candidate. That outside candidate, based on taking John's responsibilities and offsetting the accounts payable portion and the internal funds portion, we've identified that at this time we don't need a full-time accountant. So the intention is to have an accountant at the schools 3 days a week. And even though it will be a full-time position, we will split the other 2 days with the city. So it may be that 1 week we need them 3 days, or the next week the city needs them 3 days, but we'll alternate between the cities based on a full-time position. And the schools will only pay for the hours that we utilize that accountant. Okay, so there should be hopefully some savings there. We have actually agreed to sponsor, it's called the Best Damn Road Race. They are going to have a race on December 13th. Nick I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I'll just do my best. Zavolik has estimated that, or he has asked us to provide shuttle service as well as parking spots for the people that participate in the road race. It's a very large road race. He anticipates anywhere between 200 and 500 candidates that will participate in the race. It will start from the Cape Harbor Marina and end at our school site. He's done this before. He's very good at it. He's been in contact with the city to make sure that there's police detail available. He's covered all bases, and he will provide us a route on that date of the traffic pattern that we should follow. So just wanted to let you know, December 13th, that would take place. Some more good news. We had applied for the E-rate grant last year. Usually it's almost a year before we find out if we've been awarded anything. We have been awarded $50,500 for our telephone service portion of our application. We were able to do that or get the money two ways. We could either do it where CenturyLink would credit our bills, or we could wait until the end of the year and get a lump sum payment. We've opted toward the lump sum payment that way because we've budgeted our telephone costs for the year. And rather than piecemeal it, we'll just do it all at the end of the year. And at the end of the year would be June, so sometime around June. Teacher lead funding was received. Each teacher received $261.70. It was just a small little increase compared to last year, but that was released to all of the teachers in their October 8th payroll, so they received that. The capital associated with the council approval, I've asked each school, including the internal departments, maintenance, custodial, food services, to provide a list of a wish list. Where would they like to see that $100,000 spent, of course, being capital related and associated with our buildings. I have a long list, just to let you know. So from here, I'm trying to identify how we're going to get the money. I have a call into the financial services department with the city. How is that being done? Once we identify how we're getting that $100,000, we'll have some internal meetings with the principals, and we can all prioritize, what we feel is necessary together, so everybody understands where that funding is going. And then lastly, budget information. I'm waiting on a few items so I can present the budget amendment. I anticipate next month for the first budget amendment of fiscal year 16. In addition, I'm finalizing a budget calendar with the request for the budget workshops. I thought it would be good so that we had a calendar that followed when the budget starts and when the budget ends, from its tentative to its adopted budget. So I am working on that, and that will be part of our next meeting. And that's really all I have to report, so if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Do we have a question, Darrell?
Good morning. I was wondering if you could make sure that since John's leaving that we continue to receive those monthly ledger updates.
Yes.
So that as the board, we're still able to see where every dollar is going from, we can account for it and match it up with our budget, because I think that's really
That is
important.
that is part of Vicki Blackburn. She's been trained on that with John, so that is part of her upcoming duties, that she'll provide that. That's one of her responsibilities.
'Cause when John started doing that, that was great that we can match up, what we know in our budget and how much they're actually being spent and if they're being spent on that. So please make sure of that.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Lenny?
Thank you. Just want to say thank you for putting up with me over the years. The capital funding you passed on to me, I did pass that on to council as a whole. I think it is imperative that they know what our Lee County School Board is holding back on us. And in the future, don't hesitate to put it on council internet if it's something significant that, opens the eyes of council to see, what revenues are not coming in, what revenues are being held up by our Lee County School Board. So I just wanted to let you know and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Okay, our Director of Procurement and Food Services.
Good morning, Danielle Jensen, Director of Procurement and Food Service. As far as food service, all of last year's eligibilities have expired, and our current participation rate is at 37%. In addition, October starts our verification process, where we need to verify 3% of the applicants. I sent out letters to families, and they will have until November 13th to provide the necessary information. If they do decide not to provide that, they will be taken off of the program. Another program that we are trying to work with is with our high school, and we are trying to work with the culinary program and do an internship for the culinary 4 students. Mrs. Prowitz, who runs the culinary program at the high school, got together with me and asked if we would be open to doing this. So I met with my team, and we decided that we would be open to meeting with them. So we were going to pilot a program in the second semester where culinary 4 students would come into our cafeterias and would be helping with us. And we feel like that's a win-win situation because it will give them some real-life experience and at the same time provide some help for our team. As far as financially, August was a short month and we don't have September numbers, so I don't really have information as far as that, but I do know our claims have started off well, so we feel that is very encouraging, and we'll see and give you guys more information as we go along. And I do want to recognize that this week is National School Lunch Week, so I would like to take a minute to recognize the hard work that my team does every week. This year's theme is School Lunch Snapshots. So they want to share the best of school lunches with pictures. And so I thought this was going to be a really good thing for my elementary school, and it is, but I couldn't get over how much the high school got into it. I had a staff member with a hat and the selfie stick, and all the kids were getting involved. So hoping to put those pictures together today and submit this week and submit that for us as well. As far as procurement, we've had a few issues. One of the main ones we've been working on is with our copiers. Zeno has agreed to replace 3 of our 4 large copy machines. We've had some issues with copies and collating. We should be coordinating and getting that done this week, hoping we won't have the same issues. It's the same model, but it's an updated version, so hopefully that will alleviate some of the problems that we've had in our front office with that. We've also had some issues with our landscaper. This is the second year of the contract, but they got some new management and decided at the last minute that they didn't want to cut our grass on the weekends, and there was a few maintenance issues. So we had a couple meetings, brought the city in as well, and for now we've got that taken care of. They will continue to cut on the weekends and do the things that we've asked and agreed to, but the contract does expire in March. So I will start working with the city so we can put up specs, because I'm sure they're going to want to change things and maybe change the costs and stuff like that. So if there is anything significant with that, I will make sure I notify everybody and everybody's aware of that. And we're just doing our normal maintenance on the buildings, which keeps our maintenance team very busy. And that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions? Lenny?
I also would like to thank you. 2 years ago when I got to walk around with you and learn about food services and stuff like that, it was very enlightening. The stuff that you have to go through to provide our children with the nutritional value that is brought in by the state. And I can explain to my daughter now when she says, oh, my food rots and this don't taste like. So now I say it's not the school, it's from the state, and it's and she doesn't go to our charter school. She goes to Lee County Public Schools, but I can give her that wealth of knowledge that it's the state mandates and it's the federal government mandates, and it's good for you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because I know last week I was actually at a place with Dr. Young, and she was explaining how she has a kindergartner, and her son for the first time is trying things like black beans and plantains and rice, and she was talking about actually how great our food is, and everybody around was kind of looking at it. So I think like anything, once you introduce new things, there's always going to be that fight, and some people aren't ever going to like those kinds of things. But overall, I think the program is good, and I really appreciate the amount of time that you've taken to come and look at our cafeteria, being on our wellness committee. I really appreciate that. That's been very helpful in letting everybody else know what we do. So thank you very much for your efforts.
And hopefully one day we'll be able to have a full service cafeteria that we can provide for our children.
That would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay, our principal from Krista McCullough. Jackie?
Good morning, Jackie Collins, Krista McCullough. Just a couple things to keep you updated on. our botanical garden, our hydroponic garden. We're making some great progress with that. Pasha donated some butterfly vines, but what we've done is we've replumbed and rewired the hydroponic station that was donated to us. So that's almost ready to go, and we've built a reservoir. But the most important thing is that we've had seedlings started by one of our parents, Mr. Crabtree. He's started seedlings so that we can plant them next week. All the grade levels can participate. He's got broccoli, kale, tomatoes, spinach, pumpkins, and sunflower at this point. So I think that's really terrific. And then again, the vines for the butterflies. And we also have Professor Pricklethorn coming in to talk to us about planting trees and planting plants in October. So we're gung-ho. Let's see. We have the Booster-thon fundraiser coming up. We're doing a kickoff, a pep rally tomorrow. And that is the PTO's big annual fundraiser. And it focuses on health and fitness and character education. So typically what it is the students will be collecting pledges. We have a Booster-thon club committee that will be coming in and giving them the character ed messages every day for the course of a week. And then the final culminating event is it's like a fun run walk at Jim Jeffers Park, and they'll be required to do as many laps as they can, hopping, skipping, jumping, whatever they see fit to do. So it should be a good event, something different that we're trying. Candy bars, we're tired of the candy bars and the cookies and things like that, so we figured we'd go healthy this time. And also I did a survey recently about renaming Christa McAuliffe. Renaming it meaning adding Oasis somewhere in the name for, identity purposes. We don't always feel that we are a part of the Oasis system. We don't always feel that the public sees us as part of the Oasis system. When they talk about the Oasis schools, they're not necessarily talking about Christa McAuliffe. So we thought I would ask and see what the general consensus was. I surveyed parents, I surveyed my staff, and I surveyed the Oasis staff at the other campus. I know you haven't gotten those results yet, but I sent them to Mr. Stevenson, and he will be forwarding them on to you. It's very interesting. My staff was kind of about 50-50 because they realized it would be nice to have that identity added on to Christa McAuliffe so we could be considered a part of the system in the public eye. So they're about 50-50. 50% of them said that that would be a good idea, and 50% of them said, no, we have our own identity, and we're fine with who we are. The parents did not like the idea at all. Overwhelmingly, they said, we've made a name for ourselves in the community. People know us as CME. We're different, and we should be different than, and identifiable in that respect as a different campus. So, and then the staff at Oasis, the Oasis campus, was overwhelmingly for adding Oasis to our name to include us as part of the big, overall branding name. So I'll send you those results. They were very interesting. And I think the parents had a very good point in the fact that we've already established a name in the community, and what we have going on is really pretty good. I mean, our test scores, we got our FSA test scores back. They were excellent this year. We were the top performing school in the city of Cape Coral. Oasis, we're always neck and neck. But we must be doing something right the way we're doing it. So I've just decided to not change Christa McAuliffe. Maybe we can add Oasis in when we're referring people on the waiting list to our Oasis North campus. That might help in some way, but otherwise changing the name is not a good idea at this point, or if ever. So just thought I'd share that with you. And that's really all I have going on right now. And I'd like to say best wishes to Councilman Nesta. It's been a pleasure working with you on the board. Thank you.
Thank you,
Daryl?
Ron.
I just had a question. On social media, it's been going around about a fundraiser for the 5th grade. Pickles. Just because I keep seeing pickles all over my Facebook page from a lot of the parents for 5th grade, I was wondering if you could just elaborate so at least the rest of the board understands, and maybe I would actually understand it better.
They're selling pickles to raise money. There were a couple suggestions offered. Candy bars was one of them in the cafeteria. And I don't agree that that's a very good idea, selling candy bars when they're supposed to be eating healthy. So Mr. Lovin recommended pickles because they are cucumbers and they're unusual, and kids love them. So better than serving a bag of M&Ms for 50 cents, we can bag up a pickle.
It was a very good idea.
See
It
how we
freaked
can
me
do.
out. I woke up the pickles all over my Facebook page.
We're gonna try it, you know? Gotta be
Hope
innovative.
it works.
Okay, Rob?
Mrs. Collins, thank you very much for your professional and thorough presentation. What I'd like to see is if you beat Mr. Hook in any grades or tests, I'd like to see maybe a little less professionalism and maybe a dance in front of him. Just showing. So
I can do that.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, I'd just like to comment about the garden. I'm glad to see it's up and about and moving. And I'll put out a challenge to all the schools. A couple of years ago, when I was doing the environmental club at the high school, our goal was to plant 100 trees, and we did that on the median, which some parents complain because now they can't drive over the median, and I was one of those people that used to drive over the median. So I'll put out a challenge to all the schools that the goal is to plant 100 schools a year.
Plant 100 trees.
And it can be 100 trees a year, and it could be on campus, off campus, public access. Medians do a real wonderful thing for the community. So that's my challenge to you all, and suggestions. The forestry department will work with you, the garden club will work with you, the native plant cell people will work with you. So that's the challenge, and once we're successful, we're going to spread it throughout Cape Coral and challenge the other schools in Cape Coral to plant 100 trees a year. Let's be the leaders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Mr. Hook. Captain Hook.
Good morning, Steve Hook, Oasis Elementary. You noticed in the survey results how welcoming the Oasis campus was. We don't see it as a competition. We are a love fest. We too want to recognize our cafeteria workers this week, National School Lunch Appreciation Week, and we have an awesome staff and at all 4 schools, but Miss Melissa and Miss Lizette and Miss Amporo do a great job in our cafeteria, so thank you to them. Next week is Bus Driver Appreciation Week and showing the love, and we're having a luncheon for them on Friday of next week at Shop to Sandoval at Woody's. Our test scores are in, and they were very good, but the representation in the T-score, I still don't understand, so I'm not going to try to explain it to you, but they were very good, and we were in the top across the board, but I'll leave it at that. We have Shrek auditions starting very soon, our drama department. We also have tomorrow night, if you have a chance to go to the Ice Cream Club, our junior theater group that includes Oasis Middle and Oasis Elementary students that you have approved to go to the Atlanta JTF competition is doing a fundraiser tomorrow. Our PTO has a PB&J 5K if you want to come get a little exercise on Saturday morning. We're going to be, I'll be leading the pack on that, Mr. Zukovic, and doing lots of fun things on Saturday with that. And that's pretty much it. Mr. Mesta, Councilman Nesta, thank you for your service, sir. It's been a pleasure. You've been a true champion for the charter cause, and we thank you for that, and bless you in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll hear from our middle school.
Good morning, Keith Graham, Principal of Oasis Middle. October's off and running, a lot of fun things going on. First, I also want to recognize our school lunch workers. They do a great job. Got them lunch yesterday and some gift cards. Hope they enjoyed that. And looking forward to the Bus Driver Appreciation Week next week, too. Our student government has been working with Mrs. Wise, and they've been doing extremely great job this year so far. They put on our first school dance last Friday. It was a great success. Kids had a lot of fun, and they're just more involved with just coordinating and getting that message out to folks in the school. They also hosted our first staff student volleyball game this past Friday in the gym, and it was also very well attended and great. Kids had a lot of fun. And again, Miss Wise did a great job at getting those kids organized, and they helped out with crowd control and getting things directed and doing a good job, so it was good to see. This Friday, we also have our fundraiser assembly, and all the kids that participated in that get a chance to go and see the Miami basketball dunk team, and they're going to come and show their skills to all those kids that participated. And there's a lot of other activities that kids will have a chance to win some cash prizes and whatnot. That's this Friday morning. And also is our Pink Day for Relay for Life. That's also the 16th. Kids can wear pink from head to toe as much as they'd like to for a donation that's going to go to our Relay for Life team. The end of the week, or end of the month, I should say, Red Ribbon Week's coming up, and we have a lot of good activities, and Miss O'Reilly's done a good job again this year getting things set up and getting organized with different groups. Our 8th grade is going to have a presentation by the Lee County Sheriff's Office CERT team. Our 7th grade are going to have Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and our 6th grade I have a presentation by the Cape Coral Police Department. It's still working out the details to that. So by the time that week comes, we'll have things set up. Teachers are also going to do a door decorating contest, and as we did that last year, that was a big success. So we're going to do that again. They had fun doing that with the kids. Our STEM tour group this past Saturday went down to the Village School of Naples and did extremely well. Those kids are amazing, just absolutely amazing. It's if you haven't got a chance to go see one of their weekend things that you need to get down and do it. It's really a good thing to see. Oasis was very well representative. That was the first STEM tour, and it was down there again at Naples Village. The middle school division included 22 teams, and our 8th grade team won 3rd place. They also got $500 in tour vouchers for Pure Florida. Our 8th grade team was only 1 point behind for 4th place. And the next challenge will be at Bishop Verreau on the 24th, and that'll be a crazy contraption contest. The contraption is under lock and key, so Miss McLean wasn't telling me what it is, so we'll have to go down there and see that. A lot of other things going on, though. Mr. McCarthy, I'm going to point out, he did a great job, too. He has a colonial fair every year, and he has his kids work in groups to create a sales presentation to encourage people to settle in one of the 13 colonies. They can do that by creating songs or making sales gimmicks, banners, whatever they can do to try to get you to settle in one of the 13 colonies. It's always fun to see. They make those connections and see how tough and what life was like back then. So he did a good job with that. And then we'll be talking a little bit later about the TSA group that needs to go traveling. So it's next on the agenda. But that's all I have.
I'm tired listening to it. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes. Mr. Graham, I just wanted to let you know, I went down to the STEM tour. That was absolutely amazing. My son was on the seventh grade group that came in 1 point behind the 8th grade group. The professionalism with everyone involved was amazing. The students were amazing. The only thing I would suggest is talking to the elementary schools for Ms. Collins and for Mr. Hook, because it was amazing what some of the elementary kids were able to do and the recognition that our school system could get from it. And I just can't say enough about the positive effects that had. Hopefully you'll get a chance to join us at the next one. It was really
the
cool.
kids love it. The high school kids, I think, the high school kids did very well too. I didn't get the whole rundown, but
They did good. I had pictures. I sent them over to Miss McLean. She wanted to take the credit, so hopefully she'll be forwarding them over shortly. But we definitely should look into it for the elementary school, because it's only like 5 or 7 students.
Right.
And the benefits, really good, just really good. Thank you.
Okay, very good. And our high school principal, Shannon.
Good morning. I too would like to thank our food service staff. To be very honest, there's such a small group, and to accomplish what they accomplish on a daily basis in the amount of time that they do is very impressive. So just want to make sure that I recognize them as well, and our bus drivers. That's the one position that I've said I'm not sure. I think I could drive the bus. I'm not sure I could imagine driving a bus with all of those children behind me, and just the pressure of safety. And so our folks have been really good to work with. Just a few things. We've also received our test data, and it looks strong. We do see some areas of improvement that are needed right off the bat without really disaggregating a lot at this point. But we want to have our professional learning community start taking a look at that data, which is our teachers, and start really trying to dig a little deeper and see what it is that we're missing in terms of standards at different junctures, and make sure that that we're shoring up any gaps that we're finding. One of the most exciting things, I think, at this point that we've actually gotten off the ground and we're starting to insert students into the program is our internship program. And I know that Ms. Jansen mentioned that earlier, but what we are trying to do with this internship program is really build it into not just this experience that's standalone. We're really trying to integrate it into senior English, where the course is really designed to do multiple things, but really with those senior students start focusing on what is it that your career path is. And let's make sure that this is a path that you want to go down by doing a couple internship experiences that last 6 to 8 weeks. The students are actually doing some training ahead of time in terms of what does communication look like in the real world, and when you're communicating with managers and bosses, and how do you do that appropriately, how do you pick up the phone and make those phone calls before they actually go out and begin those experiences. In those experiences, one of the things that I really want to communicate to you all as a board, they are encouraged and expected to be involved in whatever internship they're serving. And before they leave that internship, their job is to really determine a growth project that they're going to contribute back to the business in which they're serving. So if they're in nursing, then they have to work with the staff that they have been assigned to, with their mentors, and leave the place better than they found it. So we're asking our students to really take a little bit of a step even beyond just the internship experience, but what are we giving back? And then also in that, we're working with the students to design what we're calling at this point a capstone project. I'm not sure that that's what it will be called at the end, but just where students can really articulate that internship experience and what it produced for them as a student. What did they gain from that experience? Did they determine that maybe I don't want to be an elementary guidance counselor because children are at my leg all the day, and there are certain things that I have to do that I didn't interpret to be until I actually got in that scenario? Or I'm really passionate about marine biology, and this is really where I want to serve. So we hope that we can leave students exiting that senior year with a true sense of shoring up, yes, this is where I want to go, and this is kind of the direction that I want to be in. And that was really a result of students just kind of expressing the need for different options, and we can't offer a program for everything, and so we felt like maybe the answer was sort of a yes and yes if we can embed it into another course and get that elective credit opportunity and put them in places where they want to be, where their interests lie, then maybe it was a win for both. So we have a couple students that are beginning their placements, and it's going very well. Catherine Kanaki has done excellent work, seeing the vision, hearing from the students, taking their input, and really designing this program. And I will also have to say that Mayor, is it Sewicki, also met with us, and we were able to share with her the design, what the purpose was, and she has also been integral in helping us get students placed as well. So we feel like that's off and running, and we've also integrated that not only in the cafeteria but with our drone program. We have a student that is actually doing some work around the drone program beyond what's happening in the classroom. So we're excited. Come by and see us. That's the one thing I would say. Feel free to come by and see. It's hard for me to capture all of what's happening at our school just in a brief time. I also wanted to let you know that for the first time, Oasis High School has a student government association, and we have elected our members, or our officials, and they were able to give their speeches last week. Ms. Terrio did videos, and we were able to show those videos, and the students actually voted during lunch last week, and so it was pretty neat to be able to see the students campaign and be a part of that process. And we're also partnering with the city on some work with the it's the $200,000 community grants. So I know Mr. Nesta is familiar with that, but I think our student government is probably going to take that on as one of our real project-based learning opportunities, where they can partner with the city and lead some of that work as well with the mayor. The Friends of Wildlife, we have met, I have met with Mr. Chupak several times, at least two, and I was supposed to meet with him last week, but was not able to do that. But we are looking, we have actually applied for a grant to allow us to do some environmental science activities outside in the woods next to the school. And we're going to, hopefully, the goal is to create an environment where students are actually getting out and doing the learning as opposed to kind of sitting in the seats and just being lectured to or getting the information and just going from mouth to paper. But the goal is to really get them involved in some processes, in some real research, in some what I would just call real engagement for our students, where they can apply what's really happening in the world and what they're learning to things that matter. So we will keep you updated on where we are in that process, but the partnership with Florida Gulf Coast University has been critical in that piece, and we feel like we're able to pull that off. So we'll keep you posted there. The Student Voice is actually working on a grant, and students came to me and approached me about a particular grant that one of them found, and really to address some needs that our students feel like they're missing. And this was really a compliment to the middle school, but you know, they said we get to do lots of STEM things and hands-on things in the middle school and build and design, but then in terms of really engineering and science technology, it's sort of in pockets. And so we've really had a discussion around how can we really create this environment where students can be engaged and they become creators and they become makers of things. And so we're pursuing that. It is very student-led. Students created the surveys. Students actually gave the students surveys yesterday and polled to bring back information to start looking at what would that design look like. And so the grant is pretty much create your dream high school. It's rethinking high school, redesigning high school to meet the needs of next generation learners. And they approached me and I said, sure, let's talk. It's a pretty rigorous time frame, and so it's going to take a lot of work in a short amount of time, but we have about 10 or 15 students that are very committed to this, and so I'm going to support them, and we may be back to you next month asking for some specific support as well with some of the partnerships. We have PSAT tomorrow. I'm still getting used to Florida testing. Wow, it never stops. It just is ongoing, and so that's I'm learning. We have homecoming next week, and we have lots of activities happening throughout each of the days, specifically for the student body. October the 28th, we're having our we're going to call it a showcase. It's sort of an open house showcase. We want to move that sort of open house feel into more of a here's what's happening at Oasis and showcasing all of the great things that are occurring. Financial Aid Night, December 2nd for our seniors. We have implemented the communication with parents. Every Friday a newsletter goes out to them, just sort of highlighting just main topics for them to see. And Mr. Nesta, Councilman, we appreciate your service. I've only been here a short time to work with you, but you were very welcoming from the get-go, and I just got from the very beginning that you were very much about the students. So I know that it's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, Jennifer?
Not a question, I just have a comment. I want to commend you on this internship program. It's such a challenge to be an educator. I know it is. And one of the things is to be able to explain to students this holistic approach, right? It's not just focusing on work. It's not just focusing on school. It's everything. And turning it into a capstone with a writing component and a research component is a really, really good thinking out of the box idea. So congratulations on that. I like that.
Right, thank you. We'll probably be calling on you all to serve on some of those capstone committees as they present. So, all right, thank you.
I would also like to make a comment to a lot of what you said is very near and dear to me, because it sounds like, and I know Mr. Hook is familiar with it, and probably Jackie, because I've been preaching it a long time, is what's called service learning. And it's academically driven, that you go back into the community and perform the service, get out of the classroom and actually do what's being taught in the classroom. And that's a great thing. And it's one of the directions I'd like to see the whole school system go into, is getting our kids out into doing what they're reading about, what they're learning about, and giving back. It's not just community service, it's actual learning and looking at the bigger picture and analyzing it and going back and saying, okay, let's evaluate what we've done and how we can do it, acting locally, thinking globally.
Absolutely.
And that's the direction I think we're starting to go in. And of course, with the Woods, I'm thrilled to death that that Mr. Chupak has come and talked to you, because that's always been near and dear. Save the Woods, use it as an environmental classroom. You've got 6 schools in the area, and that's a gym. We don't have wooded areas. We don't have the wildlife. We don't have the plant life. It can be used across the board in so many different ways, not just science ways, but math ways. I mean, you know, quality of life, et cetera, et cetera. So it's crucial that kids understand what goes into a city to make it better, and having woods to play in and to have an imagination with. I mean, I have fond memories as a kid going into the woods and my dog chasing rabbits, and that was our little hideout as a club site, you know. That was our little hide where we didn't have to be with our parents. So all that is good stuff. As far as the internship, in Dade County, we had what was called on-job training. So usually it was given to students that I think, and Odette can correct me, either that needed money, so they worked half the day, they had their classes in the morning, and then they had actual on-job training the other half of the day. So if we're moving in that direction to hook up with different businesses, and having been a career educator, I think that's crucial that kids have the experience, that they're not thinking it's this, and then when they go there, they say, oh, this isn't what I thought it was, and here they've wasted, you know, maybe a year of college. So the sooner you can get kids into that environment, they can get a reality concept of it. So that's all good stuff. Student government, excellent. That being said, tonight, if there are any staff students, the Friends of Wildlife is doing a political environmental forum, 7 o'clock Rotary Park. So if kids are interested in the political process, this is a good place for them to see what's going on. And if they're interested in the environment, it's a good place for them to be. So 7 o'clock Rotary Park tonight. Thank you. Well done. Any other questions?
Shannon?
Daryl?
Sorry. I was just wondering, how come we presently haven't been doing OJT at our high school?
We actually are.
Okay, we are?
Yes, it has been ongoing. That program has been in existence, but it's exactly what she had mentioned. It's for a really specific population, not necessarily focused on kind of what we were after with this growth and sort of transition and what's your passion. I really want to get students to think about, you know, what is your passion long term, and what are the steps that you need to specifically take to get there. And so part of that embedded process was just a little different than OJT. So we are still offering the OJT program. This is in addition to and serves a different purpose.
Okay, this just happened to be the first time that I know what OJT is, because my son happens to go to a school outside our system, and he's offered the OJT, and it's the first time it was been mentioned. And I was like, how come we've never, you know, discussed that? Because that's something really beneficial for the students.
It is.
And I really like it. Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
I'd also like to, and I was speaking for the board, if you don't want me speaking for you, say so. But I would like also the opportunity for our board members to come and visit the schools, to take the time. Some of us are parents, so we know what's going on, but some of us are not parents. We're just retirees or interested people. So with the permission of the principals, if we call you ahead of time, if you wouldn't mind that we just kind of, you know, not interrupt the class. I know the classroom's important, but at least to see. So it gives us a feel of what is going on.
You're welcome anytime. You don't even have to call ahead.
I know in the past it has been, but we have a lot of new changes, so I just want to run that through our new administration. So we'll clear it with you first. And
yes, always welcome, anytime.
Our teachers are always on task, so I know it's not a problem.
Yes, they are. They are.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Okay, board comments. Odette?
Well, first of all, I want to start by thanking Mr. Nesta. You've been just a very quiet, calm presence, but you've kind of, you know, when the board has been a little, how should I say, we've kind of been floundering, or our procedures haven't always been in place or whatever, you've always been very good about keeping us on task. You've also been the best advocate, at least during the time that I've been here, to the city council on our behalf. And just in that short amount of time, I mean, we see changes from the signs that's in front of our Oasis school to, you know, this benefit that we have now in terms of renegotiating our lease and so on. And so I know that all of us really and truly appreciate it, but I appreciate it personally because you've been a good leader in terms of, for all of us. So thank you. The second thing I wanted to ask is, we have basically one parent representative for Oasis Elementary, but I'd like to see a parent representative from each of the schools, if that's possible. So if we could kind of get that in place. I know we've tried to do it in the past, but it's a brand-new school year, and perhaps we could get that going again. I think it would be a great benefit to the system. So that's all I have.
Any other comments? Rob?
A couple of things. Mrs. Treese, you mentioned a lot of the words you used, articulating, communicating, all those things are very important, and I love the internships and students getting out into the real world to see why they're doing what they're doing. I think as a young child, we always ask, what do I need this for? And to see that is very important for a lot of students, because most of us don't want to do something we don't know why we're doing. The articulation and communication is something that's been top of mind for me recently. I have 2 middle schoolers, and it's scary the amount of time they want to spend on their electronics. And this is going to go to Mr. Graham as well. And I don't know, you guys are frontline now. While they can't use their electronics in school, I know I'm not the only parent with this concern. And the concern stems not only from a waste of time standpoint, but also their ability to communicate with each other. There have been a couple of instances recently where I've seen kids, we have a friend who's a teacher up in New Jersey, and she said, it used to be the bus stop was an area where the kids would talk and learn about each other's day and each other and that sort of stuff. She recently dropped off her child, and there were 7 students standing there, each in their own, 3 feet apart, looking at their phone and not talking. And that's concerning. And, especially as we look at the bigger picture of our society, communication is seriously suffering. We don't know how to have a real debate. It's you're with me or against me. And that starts at an early age. And it's something, to me, that seems is going to be a bigger problem as, these kids get electronics earlier and earlier, and then that's what they're used to. If you guys have any, or Mr. Nelson, if there are any tools, if there's any way that you can provide parents with recommendations, anything that can help us slow this down, help the kids communicate, force the kids to talk to one another and understand a different person's perspective. That's something that's very concerning. And I don't know how to, as a parent, we can say, okay, put it away. That's enough, and cut it back. But if everybody else is doing it, sort of, well, my friends are doing, all that kind of nonsense that we have to deal with. So, anything that we can show them that you need to learn how to articulate, especially in an internship, when you have a boss, it's scary. As a small business owner, when I get a resume and they write, please, PLS, and you, and this is in their introduction letter of their resume. We've got a problem, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, this is a serious thing. So we need to thank you for doing the internships, for explaining to the kids, for hopefully, they're seeing that what's acceptable and how to communicate, because that's going to put them far above their peers, and they're going to have a great advantage when it comes to their true job applications and things like that. Mr. Graham, like I said, I think in middle school, I think is where this is starting, where kids get their first phone and that sort of stuff. So if you have any suggestions on what, how do we stem this, it'd be greatly appreciated. Mr. Nesta, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and say thank you. And I mean it sincerely. You have added, and I think Odette put it very succinctly. You're calm and effective, which is nice. And I've learned a lot in watching you and how you handle things. And thank you. What I'd like to, Madam Chair, something that we've talked about and Mr. Nesta has talked about in the past. What I'd like to do is help implement some of the things Mr. Nesta has suggested we do, such as workshops and planning meetings. Something, Mr. Nelson, that the Neola, not Neola, but our strategic plan, something I feel that we do flounder in some respects is we're sort of, there's not a focus yet still this year. And we're getting, so if the quicker we can get that strategic plan, come up with the top 2 or 3 things we need to be working on, then as a group, we can all be more effective. once we have those things, the planning meetings, the strategic planning meetings, prior to, this is not really a place we can openly debate. I hear it all the time. Well, I can't say that in front of, I don't want to say that on TV. I don't want to, it drives me nuts. Well, how do we become effective? How do we move forward if we can't talk about it? So we need to, I would strongly recommend, Madam Chair, that maybe you could, you can recommend to Amy or Nelson, you can suggest some times where we can get together with the principals, with the staff, and tackle some of our issues in an open manner and effectively. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. One of the things I'll interject is what can we do to help kids get away from that? I think some of us, and I'm still in the 20th century, is to look at our own habits first. So when parents are concerned with something, they need to see, am I being the role model? Am I the one who's really texting, or am I so involved in my Facebook or whatever? So just the first suggestion. Like I say, I'm old-fashioned and I don't Facebook. I just learned to text, and I'm sorry I learned it. I really am. It's nothing like a nice phone call and hearing a voice. So,
thank you.
Sarah?
I first wanted to say thank you, Lenny, for all that you've done. One of the things that I really liked that you had brought up a while ago was having the board more involved with the budgeting process, because when it comes up, we usually have a lot of questions, and if we were more involved, it probably would be a lot easier and smoother. Mr. Zakovic mentioned the workshops, and I was actually going to suggest that maybe we consider, since it is hard to have the open communication because we can't do the sunshine laws, possibly bi-monthly workshops, even if it was just for an hour, to where the board was able to communicate and have that open dialect. As far as the FSAs, I wanted to, congratulate all the students for their hard work and the staff. I also wanted to find out, when are we going to receive the information about what the results actually mean from the FSA, rather than us more or less guessing. From what I've heard, we really don't have a breakdown of what it means, and we're all pretty much floundering out there guessing. And other than that, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, Tammy?
I too just want to offer my thanks to Councilman Nesta. You've been a champion for our system, and you've always done so in such a positive manner, so thank you for that. I too think the internship program is a fabulous idea. I don't know if you still do it or not. My daughter's now a junior in college, so it's been a few years since she was in middle and high school. But at the time, to speak to what Rob was mentioning, they had a career class at the middle school, and then that was part of the culinary program at the high school, and they did, it was a great success. They actually went in and did mock resumes, and then they were selected and had to go through a job interviewing process, and they were interviewed by principals, administrators, et cetera. What does business dress look like? Why is eye contact important? Why is a firm handshake, and the square shoulders? All those things that were important. So if you're still doing that, I commended it. And if you're not, it was a great thing, and it served her well. So thank you. That's all I have.
And just to ditto on that, it's not too young to start it in elementary school. Absolutely. Learning to shake hands in elementary is a good thing. The Europeans have been doing it. When they're 2 years old, they learn to shake hands with the adults. So don't just think high school, elementary. It needs to start middle school. It needs to start and carry all the way through, so it's very natural to learn those business skills. Okay, Jennifer?
Also, Mr. Nesta, thank you so very much. You have just been such a huge advocate for our school. And I know that I always felt that you were in our corner, and it was just very comforting to have you as a representative from the council here. So thank you so much. To Rob's point about communication, he mentioned specifically the bus stop and how the children don't talk to each other anymore. They just text one another. And it is a concern, and my concern about that is actually isolation, because there have been so many studies that prove that the increased use of communication, electronic material, leads to isolation. And the isolation seems to have a direct correlation to all of these awful school shootings and other issues that have been going on in the country. And I was just wondering if specifically in the middle and high school, if we have any programs that address that, any programs where, you know, staff goes around to try to identify the students who are sitting alone at lunch, or the students who, you know, who seem not to be interacting appropriately with others, or the Say Something campaign. I was just wondering if we have any of those that are ongoing, and if not, if perhaps we want to consider them. So.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll just sum up as a board comment. I'll say ditto to all the things for Lenny. You've laid the groundwork for the next person to come in. You've stepped up the plate and the challenge, so whoever takes your place, they have good shoes to fill.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Unfinished business. Hearing none? Lenny?
Just one thing from our last meeting, Mr. Nelson, if you can give us an update on the field. We talked about, at our last board meeting, we were talking about putting sod down or grass down, and where are we on that?
Absolutely. At this point, the foundation has submitted to us approximately $18,000 to assist us in the development of the field. As of last night, we were looking at a quote for a different type of grass, so the irrigation, but we are well on our way. We do have part of the financial piece that they've provided to us. So again, I wasn't wanting to steal Chris's, but I appreciate that you give me the opportunity. So we're on our way. It's just a matter now of the development of how we're going to do it. And there's some discussion on which way we're going to go, whether it's seed, whether it's sprigs, some other, you know, more technical things, that kind of thing. But we do have the authorization from them, and we do have the monies. They've passed forward the monies to us already.
So this fiscal year, not this fiscal year, but this school year, we'll be able to see use of it, and our kids will be on.
I'm gonna anticipate that we will, by the end of this school year, we will have, you know, before the end of the school year, we'll have something down to what that's going to be. Again, that's part of the what we're waiting for the quote is what type of seed and grass we're going to use. And again, that's way above my understanding, but we're working with a company that seems to be that there's a rye Bahia seed mix that will work with low irrigation or no irrigation. They've also, out of that $18,000, $2,000 of it is to assist with us with the irrigation cost. There's a water truck that can be utilized. The company that we're working with now, they may let us just utilize their water truck, so it's at our facility, and literally you fill it up with non-potable water, and you know, you go out and water it till it gets set. My understanding is that the rye Bahia mix is one that can be done without irrigation whatsoever. So I anticipate that it will be done. It's hard for me to say a timeline, but yeah, if it's not by the end of this year, I'll be out spray painting and making green grass. We're going to do something, so it will be done. We're not stopping with it, and it's been hours of meetings based on this and with the foundation. And I know Amy was part of the last meeting, Rob was at the last foundation, and Todd's been working really hard with them. So again, we got a quote, should have received last night for the final, but we do have money. So
one more thing, give us an update on parking.
Parking?
Yeah, how's parking working?
I think that first, what I'll tell you is I wish we had more parking. That's always the thing. You want every student to be able to park in every situation. However, I know Mr. Berner at the high school has been very good. Matter of fact, at this meeting, I saw that he had sent an email, somebody's parked in the wrong space. So he's certainly keeping up on that part. What I will tell you is for a while there, we had that new addition in the back next to the field. For a while, and you know, we had those rains that were just a lot of rain. We had some students that were having to come through puddles and get through. And is it a perfect situation? No, but what I can tell you is they are much safer because they are on our campus. They are secured with our teachers, where they were parking previously across the street of Oasis or on the corner. So it's much better. Is it perfect? No, not by any means, but students are getting there. They have parking spots. I don't think we've denied any parking at all from anybody. I think everybody that's been able, that wants a spot, has a spot, and they are reserved this year, which is really nice. So everybody knows where they're supposed to be. So that also helps with attendance. That helps with kids skipping, you know, if they're not in their spot, but they're, you know, we're there this morning, where are they at now? So those pieces are much better. Again, ultimately, we're not 100%. We'd like to get a setup of where we're going to be, but I think that's more long-term. But for now, kids are able to park. And again, I feel that even walking through some puddles, you walk through puddles in major, even concreted areas sometimes, and those things happen. I'd like it to not be there, but right now it's working. So,
Thank you.
Is there any way we can, and I'm sure you're doing it, encourage carpooling to cut down on the amount of cars, to emphasize being green and, reward the kids in some way?
that's a great concept. I'm not sure with high school kids. I would love to, and I would like to, say that would work. Realistically, especially with the new program that they're putting in at the high school that Ms. Teresa is doing, we're going to have more students than ever that are going to be leaving campus, which also may long-term alleviate some of the issues that we had previously with the parking, because kids will be gone and there will be some more spots available. One area we did get rid of that I should mention, going back to what Mr. Nesta was saying, there was a section right behind the administrative parking for our building that they had added some parking spaces. There was about 6 or 8 of them, I'm not sure exactly. We've had those taken out, and if there's any question about why, I didn't feel that it was very safe. It's a very tight spot there. It's very difficult to back up, but more importantly, if a fire truck or something had to come, I didn't feel like there was enough room. We had some temporary spots added, but we added enough in the back to do that. So as far as that, I'll talk to Mr. Berner, because he is our commander of parking, and he has certainly taken that on with a lot of vigor, I should say. So I'll talk to him about any opportunities, or he can look at maybe best practice of what other places do. That might be an option.
Part of being green.
Absolutely.
Okay, Rob?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just if I may, on the field issue, I think one of the things the foundation's offer to help was nice. They did send a letter with some that we had to amend in some ways, because we don't want to promise something we can't deliver, and that's been part of the delay. The bigger delay, I think, is the irrigation issue. So what I'd like to put out there is any parents in our system, if the principals know of anybody, if we can get some help and somebody with irrigation knowledge. We seem to have found a 2-inch line that goes out that we should be able to tap into. Then going from there, we get a variety of opinions, and so that's led to some of the difficulty. The other thing is, we're trying to do this ideally it's a temporary solution for what we need. So we're trying to be very economical on how we spend our dollars. To put in. One quote was $50,000 worth of irrigation. To rip it up a couple of years down the road would seem pretty silly. So those are some of the things we're going back and forth on, which has led to the delay. But if anyone has any, again, irrigation knowledge, that would help us, because I think we've pretty much come up with, we're going to seed the field at this point. We just need to make sure that we can water those seeds as we head into dry season here.
I was going to say, if the rains kept up, you wouldn't need the irrigation.
Yeah, and that's, had we gotten it in the ground in August.
But we don't want South Carolina, thank you.
Right.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, moving on to new business. Approval of the OMS Technology Student Association Overnight Conference to Lake Buena Vista, November 4th through the 7th. Mr. Graham.
The Technology Student Association, again, I think you all have the itinerary that was sent to you by Ms. Arthur, so it kind of gives you an outline of what the kids will be doing and participating in. Adam Nowicki, who is our 7th grade technology teacher, is super excited, to say the least, about this conference and to take the kids up there. He's excited, but a lot of great things going on. He's also a member of the association himself. I believe he serves on their board, actually. So he attends many conferences himself throughout the year, and definitely wants to get kids involved and get them up there and get their feet wet to the experience of attending a conference and workshops and looking around to see all the latest and greatest. And it's a few nights. I believe it's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then coming back on a Saturday. So it is a couple of nights, but I think he's taken and looking to take a total of maybe 4, possibly 5 kids, with, of course, parental permission, and go from there.
Okay, Odette?
I just had a question. I see he wants to take his wife's minivan. Where are we in terms of insurance? How does that work when it's somebody's private vehicle instead of one of our?
I do believe that's changed, though. I'll have to check back with the school. I think he's looking into actually talking to Marjorie and taking a van up.
Okay. I mean, liability-wise and safety-wise, where do we, who can answer that question for me?
I believe so, yeah. No, he's looking to take the Shark van.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
In addition, in regards to our new insurance policy, that question was brought up, is that if we do things off hours with our school vehicles, they are covered for the risk department.
So as long as it's a school vehicle,
Yeah.
one of our vehicles, we're,
Correct.
okay,
Benny?
I feel better.
Okay, Daryl?
Mr. Graham, I took a look at the program. Just so happened I stopped by there yesterday, and Mr. Nowicki was extremely excited, as you mentioned. One of the things he mentioned to me that I thought was real interesting was he was looking at expanding his program out in technology, and a bunch of your students at the school have mentioned to me they love his class. The only flaw that they say is they only get him for one semester out of their time there. Is it possible that we can entertain looking at for next year that he is able to offer a year-round course or an advanced course in the technology for those students that actually really are interested in it?
It's tough. Right now, he's doing a semester class for a grade level. He's a flip to the PE. So every 7th grader will go through his class. In fairness to the whole student body, eventually everybody's going to get his class at one point or another, but it's a very high demand class. He's offering, he does a lot of stuff that's outside of school that the kids are involved with too, but it's tough to schedule him for a year. If you do, you take away a lot of kids that have the opportunity to take him. So you try to get him on a semesterly basis and rotate more kids through his class. But yeah, with the TSA, it's another opportunity for kids to do above and beyond. And he's also, we also sort of integrated a STEM section because of the way their schedules kind of flow for them to get him as well. And then in those classes, he's going above and beyond and integrating the technology standards with the STEM kids as part of their curriculum for STEM. So he's doing a lot of things. He's a busy guy.
Yeah,
But,
he has the
he's-
3D printer. We just have to
Yeah.
clone him now, you know?
Yeah, he just got a CTC machine yesterday that he was
I was looking at
a
it.
kid in the candy store opening up those boxes. So he's getting all that going on too. So yeah, the kids are having a great time. They're doing 3D printing and a lot. They're making a lot of different stuff up there.
It's
he's
a
busy.
shame we can't have more classes like that, because
Yeah.
when you talk to the kids, I mean, there was overwhelming. I was at someone's house this past weekend, and most of the kids there were from your school, and they were all talking about the same things, either Miss McLean's class or his class, or what Mr. Royal happened to bring into his class with the hoverboard, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I just want to bring that up and say, if there's any way we can come up with something, that was a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand the restraints we have, though.
Rob?
I'd just like to touch on that too. I understand, we are a STEM school in the middle school, and the technologies, I think what the T stands for, but the students are only getting half a year in that. If there's a way to expand that, whether it's more teachers like Mr. Nowicki, I mean, it's always fun to be around somebody who's so excited about what they do. And it's just, he is infectious in that way.
Yeah.
He does a great job. And in regards to this trip for the board, last year they competed and did fantastic, and it was their first year as a group. And again, we had somebody that made it to the nationals. This is a great, and they were green. They really didn't know what to expect when they got there. They didn't know a lot of things. So this is going to be great for the officers of this group to get up there and learn all this stuff before this year's competition. So I'm not sure if it's time to make a motion, but I would make a motion to approve this trip, amending the wife's minivan to the Shark van. And I motion that we approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. 12B, approval of Oasis High School student educational tour proposal. Ms. Treese.
All right. So this is actually a proposal. It's for 3 years. And in meeting with our students, one of the things they had shared, they loved the trip to China last year, but it was built in with middle school, and they preferred to travel with just high school, and especially when you're looking at seniors and 8th graders, that can certainly create some concern for parents. So, and I understand that. And so Ms. Prowitz and I sat down and just created a document, sort of a plan for what would this look like for our high school here at Oasis. What would the expectations of students be? And just went through all of that information, and then a proposal for 3 years to give students options. We would not expect students to be going all 3 years. This would be more of a junior, senior. Most of our students would know and be able to plan and fundraise in plenty of time for those if they wanted to participate. So the goal was to be explicit in what the purpose of the trips were, and then offer the opportunity ahead of time in advance so that students who wanted to participate would have that opportunity.
Okay, any discussion? Odette? Okay, I just had a question. What are EF's rules? What does that stand for? Proposed student behavior expectations, students, code of student conduct, also required to follow EF's rules of the road. What does EF stand for?
Oh, it is. It's the the EF tours. They have their own guidelines
The tour
for students,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So we had guidelines in addition to what they had.
asked for.
So they had some outlined and suggested, and then we added to that list. And ours were things that are in our handbook. It's attendance, grades, general behavior at the school, that you're complying. And then they would also have to participate in the culture club. So we were going to design the culture club around this concept of the travel.
And in terms of the funds,
The students would have to fundraise.
students,
Mhm.
okay. Thank you.
Mr. Bustry.
In looking at this, this seems to differ from the other trips approved. For example, the first one is the Technology Student Association, and later we have an ROTC. Those are actually school functions, and all the students in the program participate. As I look at this, certainly I have no great objection to it, but I just want to make it clear that this really is not associated with the school. This is maybe one of these instances where a private organization, let's be clear, it's a private organization, makes available to our students and other students as well an opportunity to go abroad, for, either for 3 years or for 1 year. But our the school has no involvement otherwise. I mean, we're not advocating that students must attend or anything like that. We do allow, I guess, this culture club will be held on school grounds. Students will have to pay their own way. It's not related to the school at all. And there should obviously it's not a requirement to graduate or anything like that. This is strictly a private organization, and I also take it that the school gets no compensation for this, other than the participating teachers really doing it on her own time. I just want to make that clear that it's not thought that this is part of the high school curriculum or part of the Oasis school program. This is something totally private, totally that the parents and the students have to do on their own, and for which the school is not responsible. Is that basically correct?
It is a private, I guess, company outside of the school system that does, but it really is connected to the work that the students are doing in their classes, especially with global studies and some of the culture standards. So they would choose, it's not a requirement